Hello families, today we are working on another Ramadan craft, and what we are going to making today is our Holy City vignette. We are going to create that using some cardboard. You will need acrylic paint. You will need 2 toilet paper or 1 paper towel tube, a larger, like maybe 1-inch or 1/2-inch paintbrush, and then a small paintbrush for lettering. And as far as colors, you're going to need this a darker kind of navy or royal blue, a lighter blue, or if you just want to get the royal blue, you can mix it with a white because we'll need a white paint, and then black paint. Okay, so we're going to do like a nighttime scene. So the other thing you might want to have is a few a ruler and a few round plates or cups that you can use to make the tops of buildings. So we're going to start off by first, not everyone might have access to canvases or cardboard. So what we do at our house is we have a person who loves chicken nuggets. So we have cut our boxes. So if you look at the back of our, so we've cut our boxes, and we use them as canvases. So if you cut, and you can use let me see, like cereal containers, anything that's kind of this kind of square. It's a little bit hard to cut things that aren't used for food. Like you could, if you got an Amazon package, for instance, in the mail, that cardboard is a little thick. It's kind of hard to cut with just a scissor. But what we're going to do is we're going to cut our. If you just follow the lines, it's almost a perfect rectangle of all the creases. So we're going to cut those off, and that gives us our canvas. You can also use a canvas. You can purchase it through, a lot of the craft stores are running a little bit faster than Amazon. I tried to place an Amazon order the other day, and it took, like, it was saying that I wouldn't be able to get it until June. But for these Michaels and Staples orders, we got them in like 3 days. So these paints that I'll be using today, I get at Home Depot. Home Depot is still open. They're about $4 or $3.50 for a small pint of paint, and it goes a long, long way. So blue is one of those colors, because of blue skies, I tend to use a lot, so I don't mind buying a little bit extra blue. So what we're going to do is we're going to start at the top, and we're going to use our darker blue, and you want to go right to the edge. And I have put down a trash bag as my painting surface, because that way it doesn't get on anything else. And the beauty of that is after it dries, you can use the trash bag for trash. There's no reason why you can't reuse it. So you're going to paint about a little less than halfway down with your darker blue. Okay. And then if you are very particular about not mixing your colors, you're probably going to want to clean off your paintbrush or use a second paintbrush. It's up to you. And then you're going to take your lighter blue, or the blue this same blue that you mix with white, and you're just going to paint another stripe about 3/4 of the way down, and then blend up into the darker blue. And if you don't work quickly, if it starts to dry a little bit, that's okay, because you can just take go back to your other brush or your other color and blend back down. So it's kind of almost as if the sun has just set, or that you see the lights of the city at the base. Okay, and then you're going to let that dry for a little bit. So we have one already prepared that's all dried and ready to go. So set this one to the side. So here is our dried scene. So now we're going to create our city, and we're going to do that by using our circular objects that we trace. Okay, so for me, I use a lot of painter's tape, and this gives me 2 sides of the circle, the inside side circle and the outside side circle. Same thing if you use a paper cup. You have the top circle, which is larger than the bottom circle. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to make the dome of my mosque. And I'm just going to draw it. I'm going to trace about 3/4 of that around, just like that. Okay, and then I'm going to use my ruler and come down from the side, on each side, straight down, north-south, perpendicular from the bottom of the paper, and bring it down like that. Okay, and it doesn't matter if you've got the overlap lines there, because we're going to paint over them anyway. It's okay. Okay, so then I'm going to create another dome down here with the medium size, the top part of my cup, just like that. Sorry. And then I'm going to use the bottom part of my cup. I'm going to go a little bit higher, not quite as high as the tallest, and bring it around here, just like this. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to draw those lines down. And remember, in cities, when you look at a city from a distance, buildings overlap, shapes overlap, if you were to squint down and look at all the shapes of a city. So we're going to then draw some rectangles for other buildings that might be in the city, homes or apartments. And those rectangles can overlap the other. It does not have to be perfect. But we just want to make them straight so that they look nice, just like buildings. Then there's going to be shorter buildings that are warehouses or storefronts. And so I'm going to start to build this architectural city of domes and rectangles. And I'm going to create some, just draw some cross pieces. So my city kind of looks like this. Okay, there's my city. Now, we're going to have spires on some of our buildings, like on our mosque. So I'm going to use my ruler to go straight down. And I'm going to do my crescent at the top of that spire. And maybe I'll give this one a spire as well, but no crescent. So there's the backdrop of my city. Okay. Now, I like to work when I paint from the top down and from the background to the foreground. And that way it's like anything that's in front is probably the last thing to dry. So this down here is going to be the last thing we paint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do our stars and our moon next. And that's what we're going to use our toilet paper for. So see these stars, we have one moon and all the different stars. We're going to make them using a stamp with toilet paper tubes. So this is a little complicated for little hands. Parents might have to help, but it's really, really easy because this is already a circle and we basically want to make it look like a C. This is how it's going to end up. And we're going to do that with two simple creases. So basically, if I were to look at this at like what would be maybe 2 o'clock, and if this were a clock at like what would be 2 o'clock and what would probably be 5 o'clock, I'm going to make creases. So I'm just going to make a little crease on this side. I'm not going to fold it directly in half. I don't want there to be a perfect line because that's not the way crescents work. They're a little off-centered. They're not perfect. So I'm going to press this across like this, just like that. It kind of makes a teardrop. And then I'm going to make that crease nice and just run my fingers across it so it's nice and hard. But see how you still have the round part there? So that's our 2 o'clock. So then at 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock, we're going to go right here. We're going to press down. And the same thing, we're going to go right and see how it makes kind of a little cradle, like a half moon shape. Okay, and we're going to go right across like that. Crease that piece. So that almost looks like a smile from the side. And we're going to make them touch each other so it bends really nice. And then when it pops back out, you see how we have that perfect crescent shape. Okay, so there's our crescent. And I can dip our crescent right into our, so I'm going to use a paper plate with my white paint on it. I'm going to dip it in so it's nice and even, but not too much. Then I'm going to tap off a little bit of paint on the side, and I'm going to put our crescent right in the sky, right here. And lift right straight up so that you don't wiggle it around too much. And there's our crescent. We just need one crescent. There's only one moon in the sky, but there's many stars. So the next one is our hard part. Stars are not easy. So stars, we're going to be looking at a 5-pointed star. So basically, I like to start by taking a marker and saying, okay, first I'm going to do my first crease, just like we did the first time. I'm going to take that first crease, go straight across, crease it, crease it, crease it. So I get that nice teardrop shape, just like we have right there. Now we want to make 4 other points to our star. That's the top of our star. So we need one at like 2 o'clock, one at 5 o'clock, one at 7 o'clock, and one at maybe, I guess it would be 10 o'clock. So I'm going to make a little line there so that I know, trying to keep things even. This is where I'm going to, and we can, again, this is the beauty of this, is that we can refold it. But I'm going to make these lines to kind of give me a guide right now. A little. Okay, so once I have my lines on the side that I'm going to use, that's where my creases are going to go. I am going to be folding that, and I want it to go straight over. I want it to be a straight line, okay? Straight over like that. Then, see how I've got those 2 pieces right there? We've got one crease here, one crease there. So now I'm going to use my fingers. I'm going to put a finger in the center through. I'm going to put a finger right there, and I'm going to crease those pieces like that. Just like that. And fold them back so that they're pushed together. So my 2 lines, the first 2 creases I made, they push together. Okay. Now I'm going to go on the other side to see my little line. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make a crease going all the way across. Okay, that straight crease going all the way across. You can see how that's starting to take shape. Then I'm going to take that and go back up to that other one. Again, I'm going to put my finger, one finger underneath, 2 fingers in the center there. I'm going to push down like this and bring those 2 pieces together. So you can see on the side, that's how it's going to be. Make those creases nice and perfect. I'm going to go down to my next crease. Again, try to go as straight as possible all the way across. If you don't make them straight, you can kind of correct it. And then I'm going to do the same thing, push down in the center, bring those 2 creases together. Now for this last crease, I have to bring the sides together on both sides. So I have one more crease I need to make. Okay. And take that guy and go straight across. Now I not only have to bring it to this side over here, I also have to bring it to this side over here. So I'm just going to, again, make it so it's about halfway, crease that baby, just like that, push it together. And then I've got one more flat surface, same thing. I'm going to push in, like that, bring those 2 creases together. And then what emerges is our star. There's our star. If it's not perfect, it's okay. You can also mess with your creases to make them more perfect. But I kind of like it if they're a little bit different. It reminds me of one of my favorite books called The Little Prince. But so okay, so here's our star, and again the same thing. We're gonna dip into our paint. You want to use if you've cut one edge, you want to use the nice flat side. So the machine cut edge. And then tamp off a little paint and push it straight down and bring it up. Tamp off a little paint, push it straight down and bring it up. So you can do as many stars as you want. Now, if you If you want, you can take it, that one, and here's the thing, if there's not enough paint on one, you can line your star back up, put it back down. Now you can fill these in. I like to leave them open, but if you want, you can take a paintbrush and fill them in. There's my final star. I don't want to make too many because I don't want to make it too busy. So here's my nighttime sky with all my star stamps. Okay, so now I have large paintbrushes and small paintbrushes. So I'm going to use my black paint. I put a little on my paint tray here. And I'm going to, again, I like to paint from the top down. So I'm going to do my spires first. And my crescent. And then if I'm worried about any angles, I might use the small paintbrush to do any small angles that might be difficult to paint with a bigger brush. Then I'm going to use a larger paintbrush again, and I'm going to go straight around on my crescent and all the way down to the bottom. So that is my cityscape. Go. And I'm going to keep going until all of this is covered. I'm not going to do all this for you because you get the idea. But yeah, so that's our cityscape. And then that's going to dry for 30 minutes to an hour till it's fully dry. Or again, you can use a hair dryer, anything that blows. Sometimes you can reverse your vacuum and it'll blow air. But anything that blows air, you can leave it in front of a fan. It'll dry a little bit quicker. So once we get to that part, then you can wash off your smaller paintbrush and go back to your white paint and leave your message. You can write your family name, you can write the date, or you can just write Ramadan Mubarak. So there's our Ramadan craft. Thank you for tuning in.